pizza rolls. That's right, this dough doesn't just have to be for sweet cinnamon rolls, it can be for savory pizza rolls. Let's start with the dough. First thing you want to do is measure out all of your ingredients. I have everything sitting here, my milk and water, flour, sugar, yeast, salt, and butter. We need some warm milk and water and softened butter to go into our dough first. So I'm going to take these 2 tablespoons of butter and squish them into my measuring bowl. I'm going to put this in the microwave to get it warm. The butter will not melt all the way, but it should get soft, and it'll take me about 30 seconds to a minute. Be right back. Okay, well, the milk, water, and butter are getting warm. I'm going to go ahead and add the rest of my ingredients. This is 2 1/4 cups of all-purpose flour, 2 tablespoons of sugar, 2 1/4 teaspoons of instant yeast. Can also be active dry yeast. One just rises quicker than the other. And a 1/2 teaspoon of salt. I'm gonna go ahead and mix this all together. Always mix your dry ingredients before you add any liquids to them. That way you're sure that everything is evenly distributed throughout the mixture. Okay, here is my water, milk, and butter. And as you can see, the butter is not completely melted. There's still some chunks in there, and that's okay. We just want it to be soft, so it will mix in. But we need to check the temperature. You can use an actual thermometer for this, but I just use the blood temperature test. When you put your finger in there, it should feel warm and comfortable like your own body temperature. If it feels hot and you feel like it would be too hot for you or too hot for a baby to get into, then it's too hot for your yeast too. You'll kill them. We don't want to kill them. We want to wake them up and get them active. Okay, here we go. Let's pour it in. And then you are simply going to take your wooden spoon and mix until you get a cohesive ball of dough. Be continually scraping the sides to get all of that flour. And you'll see some softened butter in there. That's fine. When we need it, it'll get worked in. Okay. Should be able to get all of the dough worked in and off of the sides of the bowl. I should be able to pick it up with my wooden spoon without it falling off the spoon. It's a cohesive mass. Okay. Now we move on to the kneading stage. We are going to put a little bit of flour. I sprinkle a little on my board. Set that aside in case I need more later. Turn the dough out onto the board. Now we are going to knead this until it is soft and smooth. Now, this is a very soft dough. So to knead it, I'm going to start with the pads of my fingers, lifting it up gently, folding it towards me, and then using the heels of my hands to push it away very gently. And then turn it, fold it, and push. Turn, fold, and push. And you will keep doing this until it becomes very smooth and it's not sticking to your hands anymore. Okay, fold, push, and turn. Fold, push, and turn. Fold, push, and turn. We're going to just keep doing this. And at first, I'm very gentle. I'm not pushing very hard because this dough is not tough enough to handle that. And what we're doing here is just building up the strength of the gluten, which will take a little longer in this dough because of the fat that's inhibiting its growth. Remember, we have butter in there. We also have milk in there, and those things are enriching. So they make dough softer and make them take a little bit longer to rise and a little bit longer for the gluten to develop. So this should take about 5 minutes of kneading, and then we'll let our dough rest and we'll see how it grows. The dough, when it's ready, should feel like super soft, warm Play-Doh. Like maybe you put it in the microwave for a little bit and it softened up, but it should not be sticking to you anymore. I'm gonna form it into a nice round ball. And the reason we do this is we don't want any of the carbon dioxide gas that the yeast lets off to escape. We want it to raise our dough up. So we are going to form it into a ball. I'm going to put it back in my mixing bowl. And then cover it with a towel. The reason we cover this with the towel is just to make sure that it doesn't dry out on top or form a weird skin. So now we're going to just let this rest for about 30 minutes until it gets, it's not going to quite double in size, but it'll grow to be about 1.5 times. Okay? See you back when it's ready. So there's our nice fluffy dough. Look at all that air that's built up. This has been sitting for a little over a half an hour. So I'm going to go ahead and put a little bit of flour on my board, just to make sure this doesn't stick. Turn it out. And kind of gently deflate the dough. And as you do, gently stretch it into a rectangle, because that will make it easier to roll out into a rectangle if you start with that rectangular shape. And I've put these lines here on my board just to give you an idea of the size when you roll it out. It should be 15 inches by 9. And so I'm going to go ahead and roll this. Try to do even rolls. Don't over roll in one area. Try to make sure that you're giving equal attention to all areas of the dough so that you have an equal thickness all the way around. And it's tricky. It's roughly about the shape and size that I want. Now all you have to do is top it just like you would a pizza. And we're going to leave that margin along the long edges so that the dough can have a place to stick to itself. So don't put any sauce in this outer ½ inch. So I'm going to take this homemade pizza sauce, which I will link a recipe to it in the description, and slather your sauce on. Now, it's tricky to roll these up, so what I do is kind of pat that cheese down into the sauce so that it's got something to hold on to when I start rolling it up. And I also put my meat, any loose toppings would go under the cheese, but pepperoni or Canadian bacon or salami is pretty sturdy. So I go ahead and just put that on in a thick or a thin layer all the way around. Okay, now for the trickiest part of all. You are going to start rolling this up as tightly as you can, moving back and forth, and you want to be tucking and rolling as you go, trying to keep all those toppings inside the roll, and they're going to try to squish out. So it's a messy prospect, but it's so worth it in the end. And now we cut it into 12 pizza rolls. And you need a serrated knife. Again, to cut through dough, you need something with little sawed edges, like a saw, so that you can work through it. If you use a straight one, it will flatten your dough. Here we go. I need 12, so I'm going to estimate halves first. Dunk them in sauce, eat them 2 at a time. Enjoy.